Hello, Professor. Today we're going to talk about the modern models of family therapy. What are some similarities among the modern models of family therapy? They all but one work with the whole family, creating boundaries, the communication stances, such as the placider, the blamer, the super reasonable, irrelevant, the last four being survivor stances. They all have the same goal, and it's to try what they think will work, even if they may have to change up a theory. Our MRI brief family therapy is an individual with larger networks of family and social systems while maintaining the non-blaming, non-pathologizing stance toward all members of the family. The MRI therapist rarely attempts linear logical solutions and is to educate the family on what better ways to communicate. This is almost never successful, but instead loops into the systematic dynamics to effect change. Some of the key distinctions among the models. The primary difference lies in case conceptualizing and a practical approach to behavior prescriptions and directives. This includes the metaphor of power. As therapists, sometimes we think we have all the power, but in fact, we want to give those families their own power. How do you define a feminist critique? By very open and honest with all genders, making things on neutral playing field. We never want to be one-sided or another. You want each person to feel a part of the process. Why is it necessary to view the models through their lenses? We never want anyone to feel that they're left out or like the sides are being taken. The satire family therapy is described as infusing humanistic values, a systematic approach. Satir himself brought warmth and enthusiasm for human potential that is unparalleled in the field of family therapy. Also, the Bowen family system that requires a therapist to work from a broad perspective and considers evolution as the human species and the characteristics of all living systems. A lot of these are very broad perspectives. We have to be open-minded to everything. The structural family therapy, they have boundaries in their hierarchies and subsystems, and clients resolve individual in their mental health systems. Sorry, it's hot in here. Strategic family therapy, which is probably one of my favorites, is grounded in general systems, shares similarities. It also works with the MRI approach. Both uses crafted behavioral prescriptions to effective change. This also influenced the conceptualization approach, which includes the family life cycle and hierarchy. Power by another name, this is characterized by the use of enigmatic, creative, and sometimes dramatic directives and behavioral preconceptions that aim to interpret the problem in the interaction sequence. Structural family therapies are boundaries, hierarchies, and subsystems to help clients resolve individual mental health systems and relational problems. Enmeshment and diffuse or weak boundaries lead to relational enmeshment. In other words, those come together. They're working. Sometimes they can be working against each other. Sometimes they can be working for each other. Sometimes they can be weak boundaries, and they lead to relational enmeshment for those who like to be technically correct all the time, or those who think they're correct all the time. Boundaries are diffused and relationships enmeshed. When talking with an enmeshment family therapist, typically see family members during the following: they're interrupting one another, they're speaking for one another, they're mind reading, making assumptions about one another. I see that a lot in my line of work. Insisting on high levels of protectiveness and overconcern, demanding loyalty at the expense of individual needs, feeling threatened when there is a disagreement or a difference. Disengagement and rigid boundaries also leads to relational disagreements. Autonomy, independence, emphasized at the expense of emotional connection, creating isolation. You see that a lot in my line of work. They want to isolate everybody from them, but yet they don't want to get any help. Also, therapists working with disengaged families. We see a lot of lack of reaction and few repercussions even to problems. They say they want help, but they're not helping themselves. They want to keep the family in turmoil because of their own selfishness. Enactments is also observation of spontaneous interactions, tracking and mapping. The invitation elicits transactions. Therapists ask the family to engage in an enactment, or the family spontaneously starts an argument like they do at home. A lot of times, you may say as a therapist, you can do that at home. Let's talk about what's really going on in the situation. Strategic family therapy is grounded in a general system, shares similarly with the MRI approach, and both are uniquely crafted behavioral prescriptions in effort change. The primary difference lies in the case conceptualized and his particular approach to the behavioral prescription directives. Being heavily influenced, the hypertherapist Milton Erickson, his approach uses more metaphors for the MRI approach, including the metaphor of power, over which Haley and Batson had significant disagreements for one of the most intruding debates in the field. I find all of these very interesting. Satire, her family therapy, she went on 5 communication stances, which I really liked, and I kind of already talked about those. The congruent, the placider, the blamer, the super reasonable, survivor stances, irrelevant. These either acknowledge or minimizes 3 realities: self, other, and context. 4 of the stances are survival stances. They survive as a child during difficult times, fit together like puzzle pieces within a family, people assuming complementary stances to create a balance in the family. And the Boehm system, the family system, is the nature of being human. Then it is about families or family therapy. This requires therapists to work from a broad perspective that considers the evolution of the human species and the characteristics of all living systems. And this is also where the genogram comes into play. The MRI brief therapy, systematic therapy, also developed with the intention of being a brief therapy. The MRI therapists rarely attempt linear, logical, or solutions to educate a family on better ways to communicate. This is almost never successful, but instead lap into a systematic dynamic to effective change. This also includes reframing, interrupt, don't fix it, respecting and trusting the system, and adapting to the client language and viewpoint. Maneuverability, view problems, going slow, don't rush the client. And a lot of times we tend to rush our clients in the things that they want to talk about or the things they do. Similarities, they all come together and want to help the client. They all have a basic foundation of helping the client. Some of the key distinctions among the models is every family has a similarity somewhere down the line. Somebody always wants to fix somebody. Somebody always wants to control the situation. Those are all similarities in the models. Defining the feminist critique. Why is it necessary to view the models through this lens? We want to be open-minded. We want to give everybody a chance. We never want to prejudge someone just by what they've said or what they've done. We always want to be open-minded with everything. Well, this is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't tend to read on my cards too much, and hope you have a great day.